Here.
Vice Mayor Grunder. Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
All right. Next, we'll have our invocation by Mr. Ronnie Munson of Victory Springs Independent Baptist Church, followed by our pledge.
Our Heavenly Father, as we bow before you tonight, we thank you, Lord, for the city of High Springs. Thank you for the elected officials here tonight that are doing the business of the city commission meeting. We pray for wisdom. We ask you, Lord Jesus, give them clarity of mind. And Lord, may the citizens that are here as well be respectful and also give their point of views on different of the agenda. We thank you, Lord Jesus, for the opportunity to be here tonight. And we pray, Lord, that your name will be honored in all that we say and do for the glory of God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your being here with us. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, the minutes of the February 8th, 2024 commission meeting.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Consent agenda is approved. We have no special presentations tonight, right, Angela? Nothing special, okay. I need to approve the agenda. Sorry, I went down to the consent agenda. Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting, please.
So moved. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that tonight's agenda is approved. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The agenda is approved 4-0. All right. Unfinished business. Discuss, consider, and act on ranking of city manager applicants. We want to,
I would
Angela,
just
how
go-
do you want us to proceed with this in terms of giving you our input?
If you want to just give me your numbers, who your top one was, I'll do it just like I did the last time. I'll give them the points, I'll add it up, and I'll tell you who your top ones were.
Okay.
You want to do it that way?
I'd like to
Printed
just,
it out.
oh, Byron's ready. I'd like to thank all of you gentlemen for the questions. When Angela put everybody's questions together, the comprehensive process was impressive to me. And when I left last Thursday night at 10 o'clock, when Angela and Kevin and Jamie were still in the office working, all I said to them was that my heart was full because I was so appreciative for all of our input. There were gentlemen there that didn't make my top 5 that made my top 3 because they had great interviews. And no matter how this washes out, we have some really, really qualified candidates. And I want to thank all of you for the process. It was really, really a comprehensive process. So Commissioner Williams has given you his. I didn't. I wrote mine down.
I did too.
So-
I wrote them down on their number, but I still remember who they are.
Okay,
You want me to start?
go ahead.
Mine was tough. I'll be honest with you. I had 3 that I really, really liked. So, part of the thing I'm going to say is that I'm going to give out my 3, but I would like to see if we could go back and maybe do all 3 of the top 3 because I think there were some really good people in here. My number 1, David Wisner. My number 2, Timothy Day. And my number 3, Jeremy Marshall. And those literally could be flip-flopped any which way, and I'd be happy with any of them.
Do you want 4 and 5 also, Angela,
Yeah,
for
if
the
you give
whole?
me 4
Oh,
and 5, just I'll add all.
Then Tresco, and 5 would be Shoebridge.
All right, I'll go next. We can just go down the line. I'm with you. Top 3 were so close, and all of them were really good. My number 1 is Fred Ventresco. Number 2, Jeremy Marshall. Number 3, David Wisner. Number 4, Timothy Day. And number 5, Jeff Shoebridge.
My number 1 was Jeff, 2 was Jeremy, 3 was Timothy, 4 was David, and 5 was Fred.
You want to share with us what Commissioner
Yeah,
Williams
I'm just-
were? Oh, I'm sorry,
Do
go
you want me
ahead.
to read out?
Is that okay with you? Yeah, please.
Okay. So Commissioner Williams had number 1 as Jeff Schubridge, number 2, Jeremy Marshall, number 3, Fred Ventrisco, number 4, Timothy Day, and number 5, David Weisner. So when I add up the totals, it looks like Jeremy Marshall has the most points with, well, we may have to do it a little different if we want to do the top 3, because 3 people tied. So,
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So we have Jeremy Marshall has the most points with 15 points, and number 2 was Schubert with 12, and everybody else had 11.
Wow. So we have a pretty clear top 2, but it really was close. Wow. Everybody else has 11. That's impressive.
Yeah, I was with you, Mayor, when the interviews came. Some of the ones that I didn't have on the top, I was like, whoa, yeah,
Mhm.
they did really good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So,
Well, we've got a clear 2. How do you gentlemen want to proceed from here?
I don't know how you split that up at 3 with them all tied.
Yeah. Mr. Martin, do you have any advice?
What you could do is just proceed to the next step with your consensus top 2.
Mm-hmm.
And if a final candidate emerges from those 2, then no harm done.
Mhm.
And if, in the meantime, the risk there is you have the possibility of losing one of the other remaining 3 to another job. So that's the risk, but you run that risk regardless.
Right.
But if you move to the next step with the next 2 and do that fairly expeditiously, make a choice and move forward to contract negotiations, you may not have to worry about trying to figure out how to handle the remaining 3 that are tied for 3rd place. If you can't select a candidate from the top 2, then whoever is remaining in the remaining 3, you could bring in for another round at that time. So.
Mr. Martin, I don't know if this is a question for you or not, but if we brought the top 2 back in, it would be my preference if we were able to involve staff, department heads to also be part of the interview process. You know, Angela as HR, Thomas as Public Works, Chief Shepherd, Chief Vogel, if he would be willing to participate as our current chief. You know, all of the department heads, Mr. Alligood, have them be part of that process, because this is a big part of their day-to-day as well. Is that an applicable way to move forward?
You could include them, and you could receive input from them. Depending on the role they play, the Sunshine Law may or may not apply. And the way it's handled, it may or may not apply. If you're delegating any decision-making authority to them as part of this, or giving them a vote, then I think the Sunshine Law would apply to those meetings or that meeting. If, on the other hand, you were just going to have them make comments and make them part of the public record for you to consider, and you know, if you're going to receive them, then they need to be part of the record. Then you know, you could move forward, and because they don't have a true decision-making capacity, it could be shielded from their conversations with the candidates could be shielded from the Sunshine Law, so it could be done a little more expeditiously. And then you could incorporate what their comments are into your thought process as individual board members, but it wouldn't be determinative
Okay.
on anything.
Okay.
I would say we move with the 2. Move on with the 2. And I like your idea. I like bringing staff in.
And would this be a special meeting? Would this have to be done in a special meeting forum? If we're gonna involve everybody, it has to be open forum.
So just as a matter of, as a practical matter, a special meeting usually would be the, the best forum probably, because you can dedicate the entire subject of the meeting to the one topic. You could bring the candidates up for any, public questions and presentations that they may want to give, so the public can hear from them. Many times when you're at this stage, the city may host an open reception for the candidates anyway, for the community to come in and meet them. You could receive community input and public comment as part of your decision-making process. So we would typically see this next stage be, or the next decision point be made at a public meeting for all of those reasons, or a special meeting, I'm sorry, for all of those reasons. And maybe on that day, I really don't know where these 2 individuals are located, but if it's really going to take a special effort to get them into
Mr.
town.
Marshall is in New York, I believe.
Okay,
Mr. Shoebridge, I believe, lives in Florida.
okay.
Mr. Marshall is about the farthest away, but it's still February in New York.
Yeah, coming to
Just
Florida
saying.
won't be a big burden.
Love to be here.
Yes.
So logistically, I think it would be the most challenging for him, but,
Mhm.
So then moving forward, if we went with these 2, how do we coordinate with getting them to meet with staff? Could we set up a day where the 2 would be here and have appointment times for all the staff to be able to speak with them? And then they would bring that public comment to the public meeting?
You could do a kind of a round robin individually with staff, just like you did yourselves in the first phase. Staff could meet with them as a group if they wanted to.
Okay, would that be
Again,
better?
It's a staff meeting, and they could give you their collective comments.
Would you prefer that, if it were all the department heads as a group? Chief, could you work that out if it weren't on a Friday? Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Okay,
Now, would it be possible, because Jeremy, if he's coming in, he's coming from New York, and that would be 2 times he would have to come. Would it be possible if we do it like how we did this meeting today, where we had a meeting before and then we went right into the interviews after? Could we do that?
So a lot of times what you'll see in these circumstances is especially one that's that far out of town, but bring both of them in for 2 days. You many times see the city paying for the travel for them to come in and for the hotel stay. You may want to, in some circumstances, you may even want to do a 3-day, 2-night kind of trip, and the reason is so that the department heads can actually show the candidates the city. You may want to have Mr. Henry ride them around and show them all of the city facilities, show them the community, gives them a chance, if their spouse comes with them, to see if they actually like the city of High Springs as a place they want to live. And so over that 2.5, 3-day period, before the special meeting, the department heads could have their interaction with the candidates individually, maybe while one's out doing a community tour. We've seen chambers of commerce coordinate the community tour while department heads are meeting. I mean, there's all different ways you can do it. But over that 2-day period, have the meetings and then kind of wind down that visit with an afternoon reception, and then roll immediately into your meeting, where you consider it, and you can have all the public input, discuss it among yourselves, receive the input from department heads, and if everybody's so inclined, still make a decision. So, and I have seen a candidate pull out because when they brought the wife down, the wife did not, really, it just wasn't kind of what she had bargained for as a place to live. She thought it was a little more urban than what it was, and so that it wasn't, it was phrased more tactfully than that, but
Yes,
that's really kind
yes.
of what it amounted to.
Okay.
So,
Yes, sir.
Madam Mayor, if the staff's going to get involved, I'm just asking a question.
Yes, sir.
Can we see the questions that y'all asked?
Oh, I don't see why
as-
not.
As the
Yeah.
directors, and we can sit down, we can talk about it,
Sure,
and then we may come up with other questions for the candidate,
sure.
and then, I mean,
Yeah.
that'd be fair.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, Mr. Marshall answered the most unique question of anybody I've ever talked to before. And it had to do with chickens, and it was a great answer. So, yeah, I think that's a great idea. They were, the questions were really, really good. I was really pleased. So then, Angela, I guess what's the next step in terms of finding dates? Would we have Angela reach out to the two candidates and figure out what could be coordinated?
Correct. So she would coordinate the dates, see if she can find the overlapping dates for them and for the community and for the commission. Probably as a threshold matter, the commission may want to go ahead and authorize the expenditure of funds either on a reimbursement basis or have Ms. Stone coordinate their travel through the city so that it doesn't have to be reimbursed and their hotel rooms. There's different ways you can go about doing it, but authorize that before she starts making that contact to schedule them to come down, so she knows how many days she's bringing them down for and kind of what the expenses will be and that sort of thing.
So it's back on you, I guess, Angela, in terms of reaching out with the two of them and then coordinating to see everybody else's schedule, I guess. And then we'll set up a special meeting day just to address this, right?
It'll be a 3-day process, right?
To come to a conclusion in terms of this process. We would sit with them and interview them and then convene a meeting after that, after you all had had time to meet with them as well? Is that how I'm understanding it? Because it's only two
I think
people, at least.
ideally it would be 3 days. So they would come in, they would tour. Second day they would meet with staff. Third day they would do us, right?
That
Or
is.
somewhat like that.
That's certainly a very reasonable kind of thumbnail schedule for it. And I'll also add, because the question's going to come when Ms. Stone reaches out, if the city's covering the cost of their spouse to come with them, and again, that's not an uncommon expense that a community will pick up. So,
Agreement for 3 days.
I was just referring what he was saying.
that is what I've tossed out. It can be done over two, it can be done over one, but it's,
So he's gonna do a tour one day, meet the staff another day. And then
Our meeting, our interview.
we have a meeting with, okay, what about the citizens though?
The citizen come to our meeting, because we got to do it in a public platform.
well, and you also, on that third day, maybe in the afternoon before your meeting, someone, maybe the city or some group could host a community reception, maybe at the community center
And that's-
for everyone
that's
to
what I'm
meet them.
thinking, that we can host, even with the community, and we can have a meeting at the civic center at the same later that day. Instead of running back in.
I think this could be covered over 2 days.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. If you can organize some kind of way, one do a tour, but ain't but two,
Right,
right?
right.
One do a tour, and while that one doing the tour, the other one meet with the staff. And then when he returned, then the staff, and vice versa. That way we have to have it for 2 days. And then on that second day, the public reception, and following the public reception at the civic center, we're going to.
I know this is going to be a weird question, but as far as the reception, is there food involved in this? Is that another cost that we're going
I was
to
just thinking like a little bit of
Probably.
filet
Finger
mignon,
Sure.
you know, a little fondue.
Cheese platters.
The reason why I asked, because I was saying, would it be, could we go and see if one of the restaurants would sponsor that if we got to pay for food? Because, I mean, I'm pretty sure somebody would like to do that. Is that against a policy or something?
in the past, all we did is like a meeting, we come out to the citizens, they walk around the citizens, talk to them, ask them questions, and get to know, I think the police involved.
Bottled waters and a platter of cookies at most.
Yeah,
Okay, that makes sense. I just didn't want no extra cost.
yeah. So if we brought them in on a Sunday night, Monday morning, they could, because in terms of the staff being able to sit and talk with them, I wouldn't want Thomas to be able to be part of that group as well. So if Thomas was giving them the tour, then he couldn't be part of the staff interview. So maybe after the tour, you could, or maybe well, no.
Why don't we reach out to our community partners and get like the chamber involved to give the tour? I mean, they're the Chamber of Commerce. They
Yeah.
can take them around, meet
Yeah.
business owners and whatnot. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's a
I
great
don't
idea.
know. Let's partner with some,
Sure.
I mean, it's a community hire. It's not just us.
Yeah. Would you be okay with that, Thomas? I mean, they wouldn't be able to see the facilities, but, you know, if they wanted to see the new wastewater treatment plant.
Facilities, we can still make that happen.
Sure.
If the chamber's doing the tour.
Sure,
Because, I mean, just interviewing with the staff, if we do it as a group, it's not gonna take all day. So they can do that, then they can go do the tour.
we wouldn't want to do a tour downtown on a Monday, though, because everybody's closed.
So, let me ask you a question, when you're saying staff, you're saying all staff?
No,
Or
just
the
department
directors?
heads, just the
Okay,
directors.
somebody from your staff. JT back there, can show them around town.
Yeah,
So that's-
yeah.
I don't see no problem getting them around town.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
Need a vehicle for it, but
Yeah,
we can work on that.
it's a good idea. Yeah, have somebody else.
You saying on Monday?
We don't want it, we don't want them touring downtown on a Monday. Everything's closed. I don't think that would be,
So what we can bring them in on Wednesday? And then, like our regular meetings on.
okay,
regular meeting on Thursday.
okay,
That works for me.
okay. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay.
And so are we doing, I know you said 2 days, but one night, 2 nights, but
They probably need 2 nights.
They're gonna have
One
to
day
have
of
2
travel.
nights because they're gonna be flying out of Jacksonville regardless. So we're gonna have to give them time to get to the airport. So probably 2 nights. Coming in on a Wednesday and leave on a Friday. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, new business. Discuss, consider, and act on declaring K-9 surplus and conveying ownership to K-9 handler Sergeant Jason Taylor.
I think we jumped ahead one.
Did I jump? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm focused on justice. I'm so sorry. Citizens' requests and comments, please, for issues not on the agenda. My apologies. Please state your name for the record and limit your time to 5 minutes, please.
Donald Alderman, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Not used to being on this side after all those years of being up there, but I'm bringing up tonight a problem that we're having with the school over there and the traffic. Let me change my glasses so I can actually read. They used to have areas along 198 there, which is next to the school and I believe Spring Hill Plaza. But the school finally put up no parking signs there, so they they're supposed to be, they did that to keep the people going through the loop. Well, what's happening, can I get these run up there? So I took these today, and I'm sorry they're in black and white, I didn't get my other printer hooked up. But what they're doing, and this has been going on for a couple of years now, is they're starting to park on side streets. That particular road right there is a dirt road that's constantly in disrepair due to all the people parking there, especially when it's raining. That's at the intersection of 194th and County Road 236. You can see they park on both sides of the road, and in the process of doing that, mess up the road, especially when it's raining. And sometimes when you're trying to get between them, there's not much room. And one time I was driving through, but the potholes are so bad that it slipped, and I almost drove into another vehicle that was parked there. The people will get out of their vehicles, leave them there, go get their kids, or have their kids walk up. I brought this up to the police department a couple years ago. They said there's not much they can do because of there's no parking signs. But to me, that's still loitering, and I'm pretty sure that's against the law somewhere or on the books. Now they've moved on to 192nd Avenue. There were 5 cars there on Wednesday, parked on the road, one actually facing in the opposite direction. 3 of the vehicles were abandoned. One lady was parked at the stop sign. When we came down the street, we sat behind her thinking she was turning. She wasn't. She was waiting. We went to drive around her, and about the time we did that, a truck coming off of 236 came face to face with us. This needs to stop. I contacted the school. They said that all parents sign a agreement that they will not do this, but that they can enforce it. I think it's a safety issue, especially when they're parking on both sides of the road for, let's say, emergency vehicles getting through, or students who are walking to and from, cutting between the cars with cars going by. I think either you guys should do what the police said, or if it enforces it, put up some signs, or at least have an officer go down there, especially during the beginning of the school year, and threaten these people with citations or have them move along. It can't continue this way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
David Lynch, High Springs Brewing. Do the people want the name of their city to be used to promote a product that kills 8,000 people each day? Moving on to the subject of growth, I was reading the Gainesville Sun yesterday, and according to an article in the Gainesville Sun, Jordan Marlowe just announced that 641 new houses were built in Newberry last year. Think of that, 641 houses. That's a lot of houses for a small town. With all that growth, we don't need any more growth over here in High Springs. I urge the commissioners to exercise restraint in regard to growth. The people don't want a metropolis, they want a small town here in High Springs.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
Good evening, Jonathan Blankenship. So I had a question about the way the city does bids. So with Lake City, Gainesville, and a few other towns, there is a residence preference of a certain percentage. And I do not believe the city of High Springs has that. Is there any way we can kind of go forward with doing something of that nature, a percentage of residents? So my company is based in High Springs. If I bid on something, do I get X leeway being a resident versus somebody from not High Springs, out of town, or anything of that nature?
Mr. Martin, can you answer that from a legal perspective?
From a legal perspective, it is certainly allowable, and we've drafted them for other communities. So we do have some working templates that we could work off of to help the city of High Springs if the commission so chose to move in that direction.
Mr. Henry, do you have any input on that?
Well, yes, ma'am. I know the city of Lake City, that's where I came from. We did have that for our locals who, they are our local taxpayers.
Right.
We should keep our money local.
So how does that play out? Is it a weighted average? Do they have how do you apply a preference?
So I'm thinking of City of Stark is the one I'm most familiar with. And in that one, they are awarded a certain number of additional points, I believe,
Okay.
if they are a local vendor. And I can tell you in that community, the way they designed it was it was businesses that were not only from Stark, but from Bradford County or a contiguous county is the way they defined local. Here, Alachua County, High Springs is a little more urbanized. You've got a deeper vendor pool, so you may want to, tighten that up a little bit. But if you make it too tight, then you can discourage other vendors from also applying. So you do have to kind of weigh it carefully, but there is a way to do it to recognize qualified local vendors. I think their ordinance was drafted with a pre-qualification, meaning a local vendor needed to come into City Hall and actually establish themselves, and part of that was to avoid vendors using P.O. boxes or a large vendor to get a preference coming in and leasing a small token space for purposes of establishing a local business license. And so the way we worked around that was to require pre-qualification. And so, I mean, there are a few hoops to it that it creates, but it certainly can encourage local business to participate in the procurement process.
So right now, Thomas, in terms of procurement, do we go with the lowest qualified bidder? Is that how we choose? So we would have to come up with some kind of point system to evaluate. Okay.
I know that's not at the most opportune time when we're talking about financial issues, but
No, I
It-
I
it
like
would-
the idea, though. Yeah.
it would help us feed Bev's
Sure, right.
a little bit more with
That's
all my
always
guys,
good.
so I do appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Maybe we could go with like a percentage, Thomas. I don't know, maybe a percentage within, if they're within X number of percent.
Well, that's the one I'm more knowledge of, is like Lake City's like 5%.
Okay.
And then that's how they work it out.
I'd be interested to see that. Could you send us over a couple of those drafts, just so we can take a look at them?
Certainly, we can get
Thank
this
you.
to
Since,
you.
especially since already drawn up.
Yeah,
Thank you for bringing that
great,
forward.
great idea. Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. Lawyer. Eva Werner. I would like to update you on my activities regarding to two issues which I talked about during our your last meeting. That is vehicle and pedestrian safety on 441. There was one issue. After speaking with Chief Shepherd, I wrote a letter to the district manager, District 2 manager for Department of Transportation regarding changes to the 441 infrastructure in 3 different sections, the ones that we discussed. This is the letter. I would like to provide you with a copy. So that's one thing. And the second thing was regarding the electrical vehicles.
Thank you, sir.
You stated that you thought about introduction of 5 charging stations, but you were not sure what would be the best location. And we also considered the area around Winn-Dixie. So I went and talked to the manager. And you may or may not know it, that, of course, starting 1st of the next month, Willis Winn-Dixie will be Aldi's. However, what I learned, and it was really kind of surprising, that the property does not belong to Winn-Dixie and will not belong to Aldi. The piece of land that Winn-Dixie stands on, according to the manager, belongs to some person, unknown to me and unknown to the manager, somewhere in the South Florida. So there is apparently a way to contact that person. However, the manager was very doubtful whether I could get the information as an individual person who is the owner. And if you have any ideas how I should proceed with this matter, I would appreciate it. Thank
Well,
you.
I know that, to speak to that, Duke Energy wanted to put charging stations downtown. So
Downtown.
I think the most reasonable path forward in terms of it being a real possibility is if Duke could get a hold of that property owner, because they do it with grant-funded money. It doesn't cost them anything. And they wanted to put charging stations here. We just couldn't come up with a location that we all agreed on.
Right. The best thing is what I think, as a person that has the EV vehicle, electric vehicle, the issue is that Winn-Dixie is the place where we all go, and we can just plug the car and go and do our shopping, right? And charge it that way. Somewhere downtown, like in front of that old post office station, the parking, as I mentioned, was completely full, and that includes the spot that was designated for the EV, right? So if it is somewhere downtown, somewhere in the area where there's a lot of entertainment, the same thing will happen. However, parking of Winn-Dixie parking lot is really huge. And, you know, you spend there an hour doing shopping, plus minus, so that's a little that is a substantial time that you can charge your vehicle. So these are my thoughts. But your suggestion is that I contact the Duke.
Well, since they're the ones that already had a desire to place them here in High Springs, I think they saw it as an opportunity here. I would think that they would have more swing with the property owner than we would.
I see. All right, let me think about it, and I see what I come up with.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Good evening.
Hi.
Michael Morris, live here in High Springs. I'm curious why we don't have a city limit sign on 236. I know on all the other roads that come and go, because I literally spent a little bit of time driving around looking, there are city limit signs on all the major arteries that come and go. But out 236, there's not a city limit sign. So nobody really knows where the city begins and the city ends. Especially given that we're having the issues that we are out 236, I think it would be advantageous for everybody to know where the jurisdiction line is. So I'd like to have somebody look into re-erecting that sign. That used to be a big sign, not a little metal sign, but there was a big welcome to High Springs sign. And I think it went away when they put the lift station in, and no other sign has ever been erected. So I just didn't know if you guys were aware of that, but it might be nice if we actually had a sign. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Now we're going to go on. Any response from the commissioners on any of that? Okay. Now to our new business, justice. Item number 1, discuss, consider, and act on declaring K-9 surplus and conveying ownership to K-9 handler Sergeant Jason Taylor.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. We have K-9 Justice here, and she has been with our organization for 7 years, started back in 2017. And of all our K-9s, she's the least expensive and the most populous dog that we have. So we are here today to surplus Justice and to return her to her owner, if you bless us with that. And in other news, we are transitioning another dog with the organization with the donation already. So we're moving forth with that, putting that dog back into the school. You know, this Justice was served primarily for ammunition and firearm. But our goal was to enhance police mentorship with children. And that's mostly what she's doing there at High Springs Community School. She hasn't been there as often because he has been promoted up through the ranks and dealing with day-to-day operations. So we want to return that with another dog that's there full-time at the school. That's it. You want to say anything? Nope, we're good. Okay.
Well, I can tell you that from personal experience, I've seen the impact Justice has had on kids that are there.
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about an emotional support animal, I get that that's not her goal, but she really has had that impact on kids that have been struggling and have bad days. I heard about it from my youngest because she was there.
Yes.
Justice, everybody loved Justice. So she's the best girl ever. Gentlemen, I guess we need a motion, unless you have any comments.
No, I appreciate her service, and I make a motion that we surplus Justice to her new home with Sergeant Taylor.
Second.
All right, Justice, it has been properly moved and seconded that you get to chase bunnies for the rest of your life. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. I got something for Justice. Hang on. next item of business, item number 2, discuss, consider, and act on the appointment of members to the Charter Review Board. We have 5 positions to fill. This is something that we do every 8 years, where members of High Springs will come together and review our city charter and meet regularly and recommend changes that they would like to see to the city charter. And we've received applications from 9 people: Christy Swilly, Linda Jones, Regina Weller, Jacob Newton, John Manley, Julie Tapiorano, Ross Ambrose, Steve DePonis, and Lim Jameson. So we need to whittle those 9 down to 5, sir, gentlemen.
So we just made nominations?
Let me ask a question before we do that. Can I ask a question before that? I know a while back, I don't know if you can be employed by the city after you sit as a city commissioner, because I see you got Ross and Steve and Linda on there. I can't remember what that, some years back, I know you couldn't be employed by the city after so many years. So do that apply to boards also? Yeah. I know it said something about employees, but I can't remember the so many years.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry. The provision says, holding no other office, appointment, or employment in the government of the city of High Springs except on advisory bodies of the city.
So then, when you say accepted advisory bodies, is Regina Weller also, is that Sue Weller? She's serving an appointed position, right? Or is, okay,
I contacted Danielle.
Okay.
From the attorney's office, and she would be allowed to serve on them.
so even though the commission voted to place her somewhere, it's okay, that doesn't,
Right.
that's okay?
They can
okay.
be on an advisory position.
Okay,
We view that as an advisory position.
Okay.
Because she has no decision-making authority. It's merely to act as a conduit of information back and forth.
Okay.
So,
well, do we want, and how do we want to do this, gentlemen? Do you want to give your recommendations, or, I mean, I think any of these people will serve the city well, without a doubt. I've got different reasons for what I think different people could bring to it, but I think it would be a great group regardless, so. I'll just throw out there, for me, I think Christy Swilly would bring a really good flavor to it because she's got history of the town. I think Linda Jones would bring good guidance to that process because she's done it before. And I think Jacob Newton would bring a fresh perspective. He's really plugged into the city and has really made this his home, and I liked his application so much. And Mrs. Tapiorano has been very active lately. I think she's here tonight, just giving some really good, comprehensive, measured input to conversations we've had up here. I'm not opposed to any of the others being there, but those 4 just kind of stand out to me to be a really unique group.
Well, I want to nominate Christy Swilly for the first seat.
I'll second that.
Okay. Angela, should we vote on each one individually? Okay, so then we've had a nomination and a second for Christy. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, Christy Swilly is our first, there she is, she's back there, our first charter review member. All right,
I nominate Regina Weller.
Second.
all right. It has been properly moved and seconded that Mrs. Weller be appointed to the Charter Review Board. Do we do this, are we supposed to do this roll call, Angela? I should have asked you that before. Okay. I'm sorry? Oh, yes, please, I'm sorry. Anybody from the public want to make any comment on We've already voted on Christie, I'm sorry. On Mrs. Weller as a Charter Review Board member.
Linda Jones, I know has already been discussed about Sue's ability to be able to serve on the board, and because she's been in an advisory committee position, she is able to serve. However, she's been very intricate. She's been very involved with the city and the chamber, and I think it's more than just an advisory position, in my opinion. But that's from a perspective from the chamber. My perspective from the chamber, no one else's. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Just to cure that public comment was not requested before voting on her, if you could entertain perhaps another.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Motion and second as to
For-
Ms. Swilly.
Okay. Do we have any public comment about Ms. Swilly before we take the vote again? I'm sorry. Okay, so should we vote again?
So I would entertain another motion and
Okay.
a second.
I'll entertain another motion and a second for Christie Swilly's appointment to the Charter Review Board.
I nominate Christy Sweller for seat 1.
Second.
All right, it has been properly moved and seconded that Christie Swilly be appointed. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, Christie, it's official. All right. Now we're moving on.
We still have Sue's out there.
Well, now, I guess, should we take a new motion? Do we have to take another motion?
So I would offer another motion
Okay.
on Ms. Weller.
All right. If
Okay.
you please, sir.
I make a motion that we appoint Regina Weller.
Okay.
Second.
All right, it has been properly moved and seconded. We've already entertained public comment. Is there any more? All right, all those in favor of Mrs. Weller, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
All right, Mrs. Weller is appointed to the board, seat number 2. All right,
I'll make a motion, we accept Lynn Jamison as a member of the Charter Review Committee.
Second.
all right. Any public comment on Ms. Jamison? Mr. Jamison.
Uh-oh, he might kill it for you.
No, I just want to make sure we understand on the deal that you're looking at what people have done and what they've involved with. And my wife has been involved immensely in district meetings with the school board at Columbia. She's been on advisory boards as far as on this. So what is being required for this charter review is something that she has already done and done it at a bigger level type of deal with the school district and involved in it. So I just want to make sure from a qualification standpoint, she's got every qualification that needs to fill this position. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, any other comment? Okay. It has been properly moved and seconded that Lynn Jamison be appointed to the Charter Review Board. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right.
I make a nomination that we appoint Jacob for the seat number 4.
Second.
All right, any public comment on Jacob Newton? Okay. It has been properly moved and seconded that Jacob Newton be appointed to the Charter Review Board. All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed? All right. Got one more. Can I pass the gavel, sir, so I can make a nomination?
Certainly, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Vice Mayor, may I pass the gavel, sir?
Absolutely.
I would like to nominate Julie Tapio Rolano to the last seat for the Charter Review Board.
Second.
Any public comment?
Hey, it's my gavel. You believe me right now? Wow.
Turn it off.
Just like being at home married. It's all for show. All for show. I'll just give it back now. All right, can we have some public comment, please? No public comment. Okay.
Who is she?
We've been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
I'm trying to say who it is. Who is she? Oh, there you,
There she
okay.
is.
I know his face now, okay, thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Congratulations. You got his back.
Thank you all for applying. It was wonderful to have so many choices. A lot of qualified people who are passionate about the community, and we're very lucky to have you. All right, our next item on the agenda, number 3, discuss, consider, and act on the appointment of a member to the vacant Plan Board seat. And before we discuss this, I wanted to take an opportunity to thank Donald Alderman for his passion, his love of this city. The work that he did on the Plan Board is unparalleled, and we are incredibly blessed for you. Big shoes to fill. However, in your absence now, we've had 4 individuals apply for the vacant Plan Board position, and that is Steve Tapanis, Alan Bates, Ross Ambrose, and Ava Werner.
Excuse me, I had an application in too. Joanne Tremblay?
I don't see it here on the pack.
So I think you talked to Jamie on the phone about your application, and if you could use your old application. I think she tried to call you. Unfortunately, your old application, you had checked on the bottom that you were not willing to fill required financial statement, so we couldn't use your application because you have to fill out a Form 1 financial statement. Yes, ma'am.
Should we have public comment on this, or should we make motions and then open it for public comment?
As long as you have public comment, you
Yes.
can do it in
So-
either order.
So long as I remember. I would just like to say that the Plan Board that we have right now is a really, really interesting group of gentlemen. Variable backgrounds and the skill sets they bring. You know, we've got, Mr. Riddle is here, he's an electrician. Tim Bolliger he's a transportation guy. Mr. Testa is a retired firefighter paramedic, and then Mr. Bertacci is, I believe, real estate and lawyer. And Mr. Tapanis, when he was on the board, brought the construction component to it and did an incredible job. They're a really, really dedicated group of gentlemen, and I'm certainly in favor of Mr. Tapanis being back up there.
You want a motion first?
Sure, yes, please, sir.
I make a motion that we accept Steve Tapanis back onto the Plan Board.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded that Mr. Tapanis be appointed to the Plan Board. Do we have any public comment?
Donald Alderman, of course, I'm going to put my 2 cents in. When I first got on the board, it was almost by accident. I didn't know anything about it, but for the first few years we were doing this, especially through COVID, I noticed that the board was getting their information the day of and making their decisions based on what they read at that moment and what the city recommended. Over time, I felt that we should be more involved, go to the sites, talk to certain people and everything. And as we continued on, certain people left and certain other people came in, and they seemed to take the same thought process. It's just not a spot where you sit, they come give you information and you vote on it. They got involved like I did, every one of them did. Steve was an integral part of that. He did everything just like that. And when he left, it was hard to fill it, but we have someone that can do a good enough job there. But I think Steve being back would bring back what I did, especially, and his expertise, and also being there for several years so he understands the process. So I recommend Steve if at all possible. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Okay. It has been properly moved and seconded that Steve Tapanis be appointed to the Plan Board. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Welcome back, Mr. Tapanis. We appreciate your time. All right.
So, I gotta ask that question again. So now, can he serve I know you say advisory, so, is he still, since he was city commissioner?
Stipulation in there is about employment.
About employment.
I pulled it up.
Okay.
Mhm. Just
Okay.
1 year, no employment.
Good question. All right, moving on. Item number 4, discuss, consider, and act on purchasing sewer lift station pumps.
Yes, Madam Mayor, we, as I've talked to y'all a few months back, that we were going to do a full inspection of our sewer system once I found out that our main lift station was so bad. So this is the results of what we found, staff and a private citizen that has a lot of experience came out with us and helped us on this. And we've discussed it very hard. As our grinding lift stations have, they're engineered and drawn up to have 2 pumps. Well, we've been working in the past few years, before me, with 1 pump. And then we just recently had 2 go down here, as I brought up a few months back. And, you know, we've had to go borrow or rent a piece of equipment to keep a bypass pump going while we wait on a new emergency pump come in, at least 1. So we're supposed to have 2, where it'll help back up the other one. Well, as you know, if doing the sewer issues, if there's a sewer spill, I have to report that to DEP, even if it's a cup, if it's cup full. And then there's a big fine on top of it, besides cleanup and everything else. So with our report and what we found out is there's 9 pumps needed. Reason why they've never been replaced, I can't explain, because that was before me. So with the 9 pumps, with a city price, as I gave to you, the cost will be $189,000 to bring us up to code. There's 2 sources of funds that we commission can pick out of. One is ARPA money, or the other one's under infrastructure money. So I'm just asking which way y'all want to go.
I have a question
Or
about
not.
about the infrastructure funds. We're estimating to get, what, about $333,000.
Yes, ma'am.
What do we have now?
I'm not sure. We haven't had a finance director for a few months, so I'm not sure.
I mean,
It's something
in
we
terms
need to
of an
look into.
infrastructure expenditure, this certainly fits the bill for me in terms of how to spend that money.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are the person who knows the best in terms of prioritizing how we're going to spend that money, what you think is the most critical. I have no doubt that these pumps are needed.
Yes, ma'am.
Without knowing what our budget position is, though, can we authorize spending money if we don't even know we have it?
Well, we could table this till the next meeting until we can figure this out. I just wanted to,
That'd be an
I told
important
y'all
part
I'll
of that.
bring it to you.
Right,
So I
right.
just want to make sure.
Right.
And I think we also should look at possibly splitting out of both funds.
We could, yeah?
That way we kind of make sure, because I agree with you. Last time I checked infrastructure, good, not great. If good is even the right word. So maybe splitting that out, but I know that ARPA, once it's gone, it's gone. But yes, this is from what you've told me, this is an integral need that will be addressed, and I think if we just need to know the numbers. When we know the numbers, we'll know exactly where to pull it from. And you'll get the pumps. Like, you've got to have them, we have to have them.
We have to make sure we're making
Well,
a
our
judicious
budget, yeah.
purchase.
Yep.
You know, I mean, in terms of ARPA funds, I know that we had to use, I think, maybe $100,000 of ARPA funding just to balance the fire budget. So it's already committed just to balance one department. So we only have about $1 million, I think, left of the ARPA funds.
If I remember correctly.
Somewhere
it's
around there.
Pretty close to it.
And it looks like we're not going to need it for the wastewater treatment plant, which is really good news. But, you know, we've got some deficits in other areas where we may end up needing to use it, solid waste and whatnot. So it would be my preference. I like Vice Mayor Grunder's idea that maybe we take it from both so that we're not, because, you know, there's roads, there's repaving that I'm sure needs to be done as well, that we could use the infrastructure money for as well.
Yes, ma'am, we could use it for that too, but remember you have the gas tax money that we're doing the roads with the
Okay.
past few years
Yeah.
and now. So we can try to do all of it. Try to make the citizens happy, we do it all.
Well, We can try, you know, but.
At least get close.
Yeah.
Try to get as close as we can. I mean, we know we can't do it all.
Yeah,
out there, but-
I don't think any of us disagrees that we need these, and it's critical. I totally get what you're saying about DEP finding us, and we don't want that to happen anyway, so. And we're also paying extra money for extra haulers to come out and pump out some of those biosolids, and that's a big expense too, so.
Yeah, it's roughly $1,000 a truck.
Yeah, it's big,
Don't know how many trucks it may take
yeah,
and how long it may take.
yeah.
So that'll lead me to my next item. That's
So
on the
gentlemen, are
agenda, so
you
you'll
okay
see
with
that.
tabling this until we've identified the source for funding?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right, yes, sir. So then let's go on to the next one, if you please, sir. Sorry? Oh, I'm sorry, does anybody have a comment? Yes, sir, Mr. Riddle.
I'm gonna probably take the full 5 minutes.
You keep on going, buddy.
So, I'm Brad Riddle, Vice Chair of the Plan Board. Myself and back when Steve was a commissioner, we visited all the plants within the city of High Springs. And I told y'all once before I was gonna prepare a report and give it to you. I've kind of backed off on it, and there's some reasons why. Part of it, I'm up here to help Thomas out and to give y'all just a little bit of information. First of all, the lift stations, I just can't believe the city of High Spring has been operating on one pump in each station. The run times are unbelievable. That's probably why he's lost the pumps, because of triple amount of runtime hours on this, having one single pump in there. So let me explain to you so y'all have a good understanding how the lift station works. It's a deep wet well. The sewer flows in. They have a control system up there. There's float balls in that station that there's 4 of them. This is with a 2-pump station only. As the level comes up in that lift station, it tilts the float ball. That's telling it, okay, everything's satisfied. When it gets to the next float ball number 1, which is pump number 1, it'll turn that pump on. When it pumps it down, it shuts it off. The next time, when the station comes back on, it'll go past that first float ball, and this is all to what we call an alternator circuit in there. Pump 2 will come on. It'll pump down, satisfies the bottom float ball, cuts the pump off. So that's how you get your equal amount of run times on it. I hope that's clear enough. What happens is, and this Thomas can verify it, I called the other day, I was going out 202, one of your lift stations was in alarm. He has no way of knowing that station's in alarm without sending a man out every day and looking at all these lift stations, or somebody calls in because they see the red light going off or an alarm. So that brings me to another point, that you already have DFS system, data flow systems, which is located in Melbourne, Florida. It's a system I worked on when I was employed by GRU. That'll send, y'all already have it at the water plant. Whenever you implement that in the wastewater plant, that'll let you know when pump number 1, pump number 2 fails. It'll give you your high-level alarm. You can add a 5th float ball in there that'll give you a high-level alarm, which by then, you know, hopefully somebody's already been out there and taken care of it. Y'all don't want to deal with spills because the fines are heavy. So I'm just here to kind of support Thomas. Y'all hopefully can find that money. I'm not going to pass blame on anybody. We know who the past people were. There's no reason these lift stations should have one pump in them. So hopefully you can find the money, make Thomas's job a little easier. We won't have to worry about flooding, putting water, sewer, just sewer out in the middle of the streets. And I've actually seen it where when the high-level alarm come up, I know my time's up, when I worked at the City of Gainesville, people don't want sewer coming back up their tubs or out their toilets and flooding their house, because then you're going to have an insurance claim. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Can we get a number with that system too?
Well, the data flow, I did recently got a number here, about a year ago, and it was on the ARPA for phase 2 of ARPA spending money. So it was kind of, the ARPA money was froze.
Yeah.
But it was part of the phase 2.
Okay.
$80,000.
We need to have an ARPA conversation too.
Yeah, we do. It's time to relook at
Yeah.
our priorities.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Steve Tapanis, just to put my 2 cents in, while I was serving on as commissioner, I saw this firsthand, and what they're saying is very true. It's, I mean, we saw a lot of stuff when it came to the water and sewer treatment plant that needed to get corrected, but that's being the main priority. The bigger motors that we looked at were there. Are those part of the lift station motors that you're talking about? Because I know.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I just wanted to throw it in there because I did see this firsthand, and it's not good.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
I do have something I would like to say. As far as when I toured the water plant, this is great news. Y'all have, and correct me, Thomas, I know for sure they have 2 backup motors for the well pumps, which is awesome. Maybe 3, but.
Good, good.
And that's the same thing with wastewater. Once they ever do, it'd be great to have a couple on the shelf.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason why we have the extra for the water is to give you the free from Malibu. That's the reason why.
Yeah. And we can't afford to keep going to other towns and asking for their stuff.
Right.
I'd like to be the one they come to and ask at some point. I'd like to get us there.
Donald Alderman, I was just standing back there while you guys were talking about this, and I know there would be quite a bit of cost involved in getting this notification system up. A lot of people, if they drive by and they see these alarms off or hear them, they don't know what to do. Wouldn't it be just quick and easy and maybe a stopgap, putting a sign up if the alarm is going off or whatever, call this number? Okay, all right.
Great idea. Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Okay. Next item is discuss, consider, and act on purchasing a sewer bypass pump. Mr. Henry.
Yeah, this is where I was talking about having to borrow, use, or rent. This is where we only rent these bypass pumps per month. Can't rent just for a day or a night. And what we found out is $3,000 a month just to rent it. So, thank God Lake City had one that works to our system. Newberry, Chiefland, Trenton, none of them had it where it worked to our system. We reached out to everybody when the Ashland Estates system went down. So, and this is under government deals, under government price, at the price of $47,185. And this can help out even just besides the sewer part of it, which, you know, we source without cleaning. It can help out any kind of flooding. Still pump that water out of, pray to God, we get a hurricane, and we have to pump somebody's property now, or a retention pond now, or whatnot. So we can, this is a multi-purpose piece of equipment. And if you look in, other cities that's in the sewer business, they have one, at least 1 to 2 to deal with this kind of stuff.
And the cost on that is about $50,000. So between the 2 expenditures, we'd be at about $240,000 out of, if we were talking about infrastructure tax money, out of $333,000. So the money's potentially there.
Not a lot of wiggle room.
But again, you're the one that I'm going to go to in terms of prioritizing and what's going to be the most important, and these are obviously both very important items. So in terms of the source of the funding and not really knowing how much we have, gentlemen, is it okay if we table this one as well to discuss once we know where funding is available?
Yes.
Okay, is that okay with you, Thomas? Okay,
But I
okay.
do think we need to, this next meeting, if we can get it, that's,
Yeah.
we got to pull the trigger on these
Right,
things.
right.
My
Okay,
man.
thank you, sir. All right. Next item on the agenda. Did we have any public comment, by the way, sorry, about the purchasing the sewer lift station pumps? Okay. Next item, number 6, discuss, consider, and act on designating an interim city manager. The summary here says, with city manager Stathato's last day being February 29th, The city charter states that the appointment of charter officers are appointed by the commission. The commission will need to designate/appoint an interim city manager while we continue the hiring process for a new city manager and can bring them on board.
I had said before that kind of where I was leaning on that was I want to keep all our sworn guys under one person. I want to keep all our civilians under one. And I thought Thomas would be great for the civilian side, and Chief Shepard, I would think he would be amazing for the sworn side. So he would take police and fire, and Thomas would take everybody else, if you feel like you've got the time and the people in place where you could do that. Because I know your plate is absolutely
Very
full.
full, yeah.
And it'd be for, hopefully not for a whole hell of a long time, but that's could be my famous last words. So
I'll make time.
Would it be doable, since Angela already has signatory authority, would it be a transition that would be doable for you to be able to fill that role temporarily? Yes, ma'am. Just, I mean, from my perspective, with HR and being the city clerk, you know everybody. And everybody can take care of their own, and you know how a lot of the processes work already. And in our charter, I was noticing that that's the two positions that can become an amalgam and can be combined into one. So I don't know if that's something that you think you could even take on right now with a special election and everything else going on.
It's your will, so if that's what you choose, then that's what I'll do.
I mean, I have no problem with Vice Mayor's suggestion as well. I just think that since you already have signatory authority, it may make it easier process-wise in terms of the banks and everything else. I don't know. Because if we got, if we had two new on board, you would have to process all that paperwork through the banks to get signatory authority for both of them as well. Is that correct?
Well, we don't, if it was an interim city manager, we don't have to put their signature on because I sign. So
Okay,
we could just
okay.
leave it as is until we hire the person.
Okay. So then that answers that question, that, maybe that wouldn't be as necessary. I don't know. You're looking scared. I'm sorry. I'll stop. It's okay. Gentlemen, do you have anything?
I mean, if Thomas said he can handle it, give him the job. Give it to him.
You mean Thomas just by himself, or together
Thomas
with
and Chief Shepard. I'm sorry. Chief is already, he just got it. We don't need to hear from him.
Chief, did you want to say anything?
This is fun, but no, I'm enjoying. I mean, I'm okay with my side. I just if you go with the two-party split of shared authority, I recommend that Angela has hire and fire authority. Somebody's got to have that, and accountability from the commission. I work for the manager. I don't work for the commission, and so if you do the shared portion, I still think you got to have one person with the hire and fire authority.
Yeah.
Want a motion?
So, Chief, can you clarify for me? You would take over police and fire for now,
Absolutely.
and then Thomas would take over the others, but Angela would be the person designated for hiring and firing.
Correct. Even when we hire police officers,
Okay.
mine is a recommendation, and the manager has to sign off.
Okay.
And so
We can call her the executioner.
Yes. Mr. Martin, is that doable? Can we?
Yes, I had one question for clarification. Would Mr. Henry and Mr. Shepard also have the spending authority associated with the city manager's position, or would that go through solely Ms. Stone, because she's going to retain the signature authority she already has anyway?
Mm-hmm.
And we would not add them to the account. She would be the one with the spending authority.
That would be okay with me. Would that be okay with you, Angela?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I think that covers all
Okay.
the bases.
Okay.
And we may suggest returning at the next meeting with a resolution that kind of memorializes all of that.
Okay. We would not need to do a resolution of any kind tonight, since we won't be meeting again until after Mr. Thatos' last day?
Correct. I think the appointments are good.
Enough? Okay.
But
Okay.
just to clarify, really, the roles each is playing the authority.
Okay.
The only reason we would have suggested that maybe you would have needed one tonight is if you did appoint an individual and that individual was going to have spending authority, then in the interim, we would have suggested a resolution for that purpose, but we don't need it if that's all going to flow through Angela regardless.
Since she's already a charter officer and she already has that
Correct.
ability.
Correct.
So then can you elucidate for me what next week will look like? Will the spending authority now default to Angela, or will that be an amalgam? Will it be a process?
So it would, the effective date for everything you're suggesting tonight, we would suggest be March 1st. You may want
Okay.
to clarify
Okay.
that.
Okay.
March 1st
Okay.
is the effective date. On March 1st, her signature authority would not change, but what she would gain is the spending authority of the manager that currently I don't think she has. She can sign a check, but doesn't have the authority to authorize the expenditure of funds, if I understand the way the roles are split right now. She would step into the shoes of the manager as it relates to the authority to actually spend the funds in addition to signing the check. Is what would happen on March 1st. And I've only had a chance to study this in advance of the meeting, so I would ask, is that your understanding of the way the spending and signature authority roles work, Ms. Stone? Am I giving it fair?
I have a spending an amount, but I don't think it's as high as the city managers, so.
Okay, all right.
I have a question. Without, I don't want to terminate Mr. Thatos, but I also don't like sitting in commission meetings without my city manager next to me or with my designee. So somebody I can turn to and ask questions to. Is there a way that we can go ahead and appoint them early?
The answer to your question is yes. I can tell you the minds of your city attorney's office did convene on this question this afternoon, and it would be our recommendation if you could go the next week without doing it, it would create fewer problems for the city versus going ahead and doing what would be necessary to make all of this effective tonight.
I guess we would have somebody sitting there next time. You would be there.
Yeah, because it'd be March 14th.
Okay. Okay, I will take that advisement then. Want a motion, Madam Mayor?
Anything else, gentlemen? Williams, you okay with this
Yeah,
architecture?
That's fine.
Yeah, I'll entertain a motion and then open it up for public comment.
I make a motion that we place Thomas Henry as the interim city manager on the civilian side and Chief Shepherd as the head of police and fire, with the ultimate hire and fire authority going to our city clerk, Angela Stone.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Any comments from the audience?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
On that, to clarify, and for Ms. Stone, also the spending authority of the city manager.
And the
correct?
spending authority, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Okay. So, let me, you got it straight here now. So both of these gonna be interim city managers, and Angela's just gonna sign checks and.
I am fired.
Hire and fire.
Hire and fire.
And she has the ultimate authority for purchases up to $25,000. Is that correct? Is that the cap?
Now, according to them, just want to make sure we're covering all our bases here. Do we have the authority to give her the power to, not being in, she's still going to be the city clerk?
Yes.
Am I correct?
Correct. And your charter does allow the positions of city clerk and city manager to be combined into one individual.
Just wondering.
And so effectively, they are co-city managers with a division of authority between them as to their roles.
Okay, just wanted to cross all I's and dot all I's, cross all T's. All right.
Okay. Any comments from the public? Yes, sir, Chief.
Interim Chief Vogel, Mayor, Commission, I just want to give you all peace of mind in this decision you're making. When our city manager went down for several months because of an illness, we did the same thing with a split, and it went without a hitch. So just to let you know, as long as they're communicating, this isn't going to be an issue. So,
Thank you.
right
Thank
down
you,
the
sir.
street, they had the same thing go on.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Any other comments? All right, it has been properly moved and seconded that Police Chief Shepard be interim city manager for police and fire, Public Works Director Thomas Henry be interim city manager for all other personnel, and that City Clerk Angela Stone have the hiring and firing capability, the check signing authority, and the spending authorization authority.
I think that covers all the
Okay.
bases.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, thank you all for being willing. We appreciate it.
Willing-ish.
Willingness, yes. Item number 7, last item on the agenda. Discuss, consider, and act on grant WG 110 wastewater service to I-75 County Road 236 interchange. I don't know if anybody is going to speak on this, I guess, probably not. This was an item that was brought to the commission last spring, at the end of March, and was not decided on. And the city manager brought it to all of our attention that we have until the end of March to decide whether or not to accept this grant. And I think there have been a couple of extensions filed for it. So it was my request to bring it to the commission so that we could make a decision one way or the other. Not just let it sun done with other grants, but to make a decision, move forward or not move forward. And this is for running a wastewater line up 236 and would necessitate forming a utility district with the county to do it. If it says here, if the commission decides not to accept the grant or there is no action taken by the end of March, the funds will revert back to the state. I can tell you that Ms. Tathados also applied for a water grant to try to run water and wastewater at the same time, and the water grant was not awarded. We were awarded the wastewater grant, so now we need to decide how we want to move with this.
I'll say I was in favor of this before, but our position in the city has changed. And with all the missing pieces that we have currently, I'm not a fan of this anymore. And we're just not in a place where we can do it, so I'm against it.
You have nothing?
Well, I agree with Commissioner Grunner. I think that this is the wrong time to be expanding infrastructure. I love the order of the agenda tonight to show us that this is not something that we can take on.
Well, I concur. I've been opposed to this idea from the beginning, so I don't think anybody wonders my position on this. Do we want to entertain a motion on this then, gentlemen?
I make a motion, we send back the grant.
Second.
Any comments from the audience? Okay.
Really doesn't have to do nothing, it would have died.
That's what you do.
Nancy Piety, owner out on 236. I just wanted to stand up really quickly and let you guys know, I worked really hard on 4 pages in order to express my opinion to you and give each one of you the cons on this. So you've saved yourself 4 pages. Have fun, guys. Thank you very much.
That might be the best news. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. And I got claps from you. That was awesome.
Anybody else? All right, gentlemen, it has been properly moved and seconded that we decline grant WG 110 wastewater service to I-75 County 236 interchange. All those in favor of declining the grant, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Grant goes back to the state. Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Martin, sir, city attorney report and update.
It's always my pleasure to join my friends in Hot Springs. Good to be with you tonight, and that's the extent of my report.
Thank you, sir, for being here. Mr. Henry, sir.
Just quick on the Douglas Center, the whole inside of the building has been painted. They are installing floors as of now, so we're not far off. They're still just waiting on the doors. That's been backward, but they're still moving forward on that one, that project. The AMI still has roughly 100 meters left to finish up. We have 22-inch meters. We're working with the business owners when they can shut down and when we can replace them. It may have to be on weekends or nighttime. So we are working with them. The chamber building, y'all probably seen, we have a very good workman, guy that works on wood, really good, that works for Public Works. So he has been able to save the signs that was up there. And he's working on the vent louvers up top. Because those are all custom made. So he's working on rebuilding them too. But that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. All right. Commissioner Miller.
Speaking of the Douglas Center, so will we have to bring up it on the agenda about honoring Miss Timmy, putting a plaque on the wall for Miss Timmy?
I would say that would be a resolution.
Okay. All right. And then thanks everybody that came out tonight.
Mr. Vice Mayor, sir.
No, I know when I'm winning, so I'm going to go ahead and Hello.
I don't have too much. I'll go pretty quickly since I know you all came and you stayed the whole time. I want to say again thank you to Angela, Jamie, and Kevin for last Thursday. They were an amazing part of making those interviews go smoothly, and we couldn't have done it without them. And they stayed here, and it was late, and they had a smile on their face. I got an update from Danielle on the priest. Currently, the offer is with the state of Florida. When we're spending appropriations money, we have to have that contract reviewed by the state. So it is now with them before it'll come back to us for a vote. So it's moving forward. Sweetmeats. Mr. Thomas Henry was grilling and smoking for sweetmeats last Saturday. I went in there to get my meat, and Mr. Henry was there. Tim Bolliger's wife was there working the counter so that they could go on vacation, and it was an amazing experience seeing the community come together. I have 2 checks that I wanted to let you know about, and these are probably going to be for you, Mr. Henry. There's one for Jennifer Appleby. There was a page out of the contract, but I didn't see the whole contract, and I'm not sure what the scope is, what our goal is for, it's similar to Chief Vogel? Yes, ma'am. So, Chief, I don't know, I've never talked to your city manager about this, but I assume they know that we're borrowing you, and they're okay with that. So, this individual works for Alachua County or the city of Alachua?
City of Alachua and their people.
So how is it that she's going to split her time?
She's doing after hours.
Okay, so,
Working with her on Fridays, and she hours.
okay.
They,
Okay, so their city manager's okay with it?
They're great with it,
So
they
she's
said.
still a full-time employee for them, and she's a 1099 employee for us?
yeah, she's just helping us run our 2 sports that we do have.
Okay.
The volleyball and soccer, and that's all she's doing.
Okay, and I didn't see, does this have a sunset date like Chief Vogel's does as
3
well?
months.
So she's going to help us out for 3 months, okay. Thank you, sir. And the other one was for a building that we got, a shed that we got for Parks and Rec that was over the spending cap. And
Yes.
I don't see that we've got the approval from the city manager on this.
It was a verbal
Okay.
agreement from the city manager because it was
Okay.
safety issues.
Okay.
The 2 buildings that was on the sports complex was rotted, falling apart.
Okay,
People broke into it. We had broken glass and everything. So we just got rid of the rotten buildings and got a new one. My expenditure is $5,000.
right,
And
and it's just
it
a
was
little over
verbal,
that.
like, get it done.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
fine.
just haven't had a chance to catch her.
I just think that in terms of making sure we put the dots and the crosses on the
Oh,
Ts,
yes,
that we
ma'am.
get just an email or something
Yeah, well, I'll get, I'll tell
from
yeah,
Mr.
I'll
Thomas,
tell
that would be
finance.
great. Okay, I'll probably leave these both with you if you don't mind. Well, yeah, okay. Fish fries on Friday. come on out to the fish fries. They are a rockin' good time, and I can tell you that all of the proceeds from those fish fries right now are going directly to the community outreach, which is struggling to keep the doors open. And they're feeding hundreds of families, so they make really, really good fish. And I would like to, if we could, on the next agenda, maybe bring the solid waste issue back up so we can discuss numbers. Because I was looking at the spreadsheet that you put together for us, Angela, and it's very telling. I get why we're in the position we're in right now, but I'd like to, I know that Danielle was going to reach out to Waste Pro to see if there's an option that we could give maybe commercial customers to get their own solid waste, because we were told, if you gentlemen recall, that the prices would stay the same. But a 6-yard dumpster, from what we were being charged to what we were being charged when Waste Pro took over, went up 321%. So no wonder these commercial customers are upset. And we were taking it on the chin for that 321% for many, many months until we upped our costs. So Waste Pro executed their contract, but I think that we need to do a better job working with our commercial entities if possible. So I don't know what, legally, obviously we've entered into a contract, but if there's some way that we could modify our own ordinances that might allow for a commercial customer to seek their own without being in violation of the contract, without breaching and exposing ourselves to litigation. But I understand completely, seeing the numbers, how upset they are, so. So come on out to the fish fry, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a